Hello, everyone. We want to thank you for tuning in to the Producers Show one more time here on Facebook Live, on YouTube. We are so excited to be with you again. You probably wondering why are we sitting in this room with a mask on by ourselves. But this is just a symbolic thing about the discussion that we're going to talk about today. And we want you to just stay for a few minutes until you can really hear what we're going to talk about before you decide to tune out. My name is Dr. Bruce A. Smith. I am the host of the Producer Show coming out of the heart of West Memphis, Arkansas. And our co host for this show is none other than Phyllis Knight coming out of Mansfield, Texas. We are so glad to have you as your Master Queen. We are so glad to have you today, and we have a what I call an awesome topic, and this is going to be one of those topics that, and the discussion is going to be what I call heavy. We both got on our masks for this simple reason because so many times we stay undercover. We want un bring to light the things that be really going on in our lives, even in the church, in our homes, on our jobs, everywhere. There's just so many things that we have to look at, and what we uh, going to we're going to be kind of discussing domestic violence in so many ways. And what our topic is, the topic of this broadcast today is taking off the mask. So what we have to do, what we're going to do is we're going to take our mask off because if you look at the show and look at what the discussion, in order for people to really get an understanding of what we as Christians, we as non-believers, as people, as human beings, period, we have to get uncovered and bring to light the things that are causing us so much uh, destruction because violence, domestic violence is violent. And we're going to turn this over to Phyllis, and she's going to enlighten us on some things, and then we're going to really get into our discussion. We may not get done with this tonight because this is a heavy thing, and we want everybody to get as much as they can out of it. So Phyllis Knight coming out of Mansfield, Texas. Cowboys. What about them Cowboys? Oh, but we are just so glad to have you again. Being a fixture on our show in different states, different parts of the country. I guess Texas, y'all own country. It's so big, but we're just glad to have you on today, and with this very important topic, taking the mask off, and the discussion is going to be our main discussion is about the different types of domestic violence and domestic violence as a whole. Go ahead, Phyllis. What do you think?
Well, I just want to tell you thank you again, once again, for having me
Hmm.
on the producer show. Um, and the reason we decided to put our mask on and take the mask off is because, especially in the church, we don't talk about domestic violence. There are a lot of people that are dealing with domestic violence in the church, sitting in the
Hmm.
pews every Sunday, and have to go home and deal with domestic violence. So, we just thought that this would be a excellent topic to uncover, and take the mask off. A lot of you don't really hear sermons, at church about domestic violence. So before we get really deep into the discussion, I just want to share some signs to let you know that you're in an abusive relationship. There's 23 signs, but I'm just going to start out with about 12 of them, and then we can discuss them, and then we can go further and discuss some of the other signs. But the first sign to know that you're in an abusive relationship is he jumps into the relationship quickly. And usually an abuser wants a commitment quickly, not giving you an opportunity to really think about, to think logically. You know what I'm saying? They
Mm-hmm.
try to rush you into a relationship quickly. Number two is he bad mouth his exes. A lot of time an abuser is going to always have negative things or bad mouth the person that they used to be in a relationship with. He's
Mm-hmm.
bitter and he can't let go of old relationships, and he claims they accused him of abuse. That's usually a sign you need to run. Okay, if you're dealing with somebody that is just bad mouthing their exes and they can't let go of what happened in the past, that's a clue sometimes that we don't really clue into. Number three is he doesn't respect your opinion. A lot of time abusers don't respect your opinion about situations. So sometimes we don't look at that as uh an abuser, but a person who is an abuser oftentimes don't respect the other person's opinions. He belittles you. He belittles your beliefs. He maliciously tease you around other people. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
that's a clue that you're dealing with an abuser. Number four, his happiness depends on you. You don't need to be
Mm-hmm.
with somebody who they're not happy unless they're with you. You know what I'm saying? So he paints a picture where you are the only two who matter. Y'all not the only two that matter. You know what I'm saying? He can find happiness without you. That's another clue. And number five, things are never that person's fault. That's a red flag. When you got an abuser, nothing is never their fault. Abusers are masters of being the victim. A healthy relationship is when a man can own up to his mistakes. It's always someone else's fault if something goes wrong. It's like that mentality, like Adam and Eve. I ain't do that. God, that was her. It was that woman you gave me. Number
It was.
six. Number six. He
Right.
thinks men are better than women. If he makes comments about sexism when he lets his guard down, make sure you know how he feels about women. Does he think he is smarter than a woman? That's another clue. Sometimes we don't clue into those little subtle clues, that we're dealing with an abuser, but all those things starts to build up. Number seven, and it gets deeper as we go along. He limits your phone use. If you're dealing with somebody that's telling you to get off the phone and who you talking to, some you don't realize sometimes that's a sign of an abuser because he's trying to control you. Um, he just he the lack of trust is disguised as love and protection for you, and it's not. Okay,
Right.
number eight, abuse is in his past, even if it didn't happen to him. In other words, there's a study found that 43% of male sexual abusers were exposed to abuse as a child, whether personally abused or by someone else in his household. Maybe it was his mom, maybe it was his sister, maybe it was someone in
Mm-hmm.
his household as a child. He was exposed to abuse. Number nine, he has low self-esteem. He hides behind a confident facade. They only feel good about themselves when they put other people down. That's another red flag that you may be dealing with an abuser. And I'm just going to read three more and then we can talk about some of those. He is unkind to animals and children. Usually if a person is unkind to animals and children, you can bet that he's going to be unkind to you as a
Right.
woman in his life. And it's not always a man who is an abuser. You got women who are abusers too. That's a huge flag. 71 to 83% of battered women said partners also killed or abused the family pet as well.
You
Number
say
11,
killed?
yes, have killed a
Wow.
family pet or abused a family pet. He puts number 11. He puts you down. A man that loves you will never tell you you aren't thin enough, smart enough, or talented enough. You know when you those are those little clues. You know what I'm saying? They start leading up because what is leading up to a person controlling you.
Right.
Number 12. He doesn't like when you spend time with family or friends. An essential part of abuse is pulling you away from your support group. It's a way for him to have more control over you. And we're just going to stop right there and just kind of discuss some of those things. You know, like I said, a lot of times when you're dealing with a person who is an
Hmm.
abuser and will you have to deal with domestic violence in your home. You know, it's the things like who you talking to on the phone, where you been. You know, they want to check the mileage on your car. You know what I'm
Wow.
saying? They're doing
Hmm.
everything to kind of control what you do. A lot of times you got to ask them, you know, can I go? Or you know what I'm saying? You know, because they're trying to control you. That's an
Right.
abusive relationship, you know, when you're dealing with somebody like that, somebody who can't let go of what somebody else did to you when you was in a past relationship.
Right.
Oftentimes those little subtle things, we don't see it as abuse, but those things lead up to an abusive type relationship. So have you ever experienced that kind of situation with anyone, or do you know anyone who's ever dealt with domestic violence?
Yeah, I've known several folks that has faced that. Um, and many of them, the ones that I've known, they tried to cover it up. They didn't
Mm-hmm.
want anyone to know about it. It was like their little secret. It's like they're like when we started
Yeah.
at the beginning, it had a mask on it. They would in front of people, they tried to hide it, but behind
Yes.
the scenes, you find out they. I found out by accident, but
Mm-hmm.
they they going through these situations and dealing with them, but they don't want anybody to know. So
Right.
uh, this is stuff that needs to be brought to light, and people need to address it because when especially now we're going through this time of the pandemic and this that got excessive stress on people, people losing jobs and homes and uh, everything that's going on. They sometimes maybe even feel like just hopeless because of everything that is going on now. And what end up happening is those stressors cause them to lash out in a violent way. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so it's something that a person can go to counseling if they need to. Uh, they can get the help that they need to overcome these situations. But first, you gotta admit that there is a problem. If you're not
Right.
willing to admit that there's a problem, how are you going to address the problem? And
Mm-hmm.
these topics, these type of things, a lot of times you don't want to. They don't get discussed in the church. We know the
Right.
pastor's not going to preach that from the pulpit, but in the
Mm-hmm.
church, in the different groups, it's those are like taboo things that they don't talk about because some of that stuff is going on in not saying the church itself, but in the body, because
Right.
we all are the church. So it's there's stuff that's going on in the body, and it's like we don't want nobody to know that I have a problem.
Right.
Just like mental illness, people don't want to let nobody know that they have a problem, and then we
Mm-hmm.
go untreated, and this is the kind of stuff that happens because sometimes domestic violence happens because a person has a problem and they don't know how to address it and they're not willing to get help to seek people out because they feel like, okay, I have to deal with this myself. And it's not the way we have to, not the way things should go. We should be
Right.
willing to get the help that we need so we can have the life that we uh, really need to have and deserve. but we won't
Mm-hmm.
do it because we think people are going to look down on us and feel lesser of us because we had to get some help.
Right, right. And a lot of times, when young women come to their pastor, when they're dealing with domestic violence, a lot of pastors aren't trained,
Right,
to deal with domestic violence. That's not their
right.
area of expertise. So sometimes you have pastors telling women that they just need to submit. It's not an issue of submission. It's a issue. It's a whole different issue. What the young lady or the young man need at that time, they need spiritual
Hmm.
guidance. And it's not really a thing of them being submissive. You know what I'm saying? A woman can be submissive to their husband or their partner who is abusing them, because that's not that's not the issue. It's the issue of anger and control and stuff like that. They need to go to a counselor. They may need to go to a licensed, family counselor, or a psychologist or psychiatrist.
Hmm.
They need to have some professional counseling. And oftentimes, because the pastor don't have that type of training, you know what I'm saying, to deal with that
Right,
type of issue, they may give them the wrong advice, and it can
right.
actually make the situation worse.
Hmm.
So sometimes, they could tell, I've seen where pastors have told women, to fight back. Fighting back can make the situation worse. Somebody could get hurt. You know what I'm saying? So, you know,
Right,
I understand. It's a sticky situation. To talk to and talk about or preach about or do sermons about. In a church,
hmm,
but we can't close a blind eye to it. You know what I'm saying? We
right,
can't cover our mouth and act like. You know what I'm saying? We got to speak out
right,
about it. We got to talk about it, because it's happening. It's even
right,
happening where pastors, are killing their wives. Like,
right.
you got pastor wives coming to church every Sunday, and they're, putting on this face, like
Hmm.
everything is good at home, because they got to pray for everybody else, and they don't want you to know that
Right,
they having situations going on at home. You know what I'm saying? And they're at
right.
home miserable dealing with their spouse who could be the pastor. You know what I
Right,
mean? We recently seen, where in Florida, a pastor, he was a pastor of a church in Orlando, and he threatened his wife, and he went to her job at the Navy Credit Union and shot and killed her. So
right,
it's not uncommon. We just don't talk about those issues.
right,
And we need to talk about it, because it's happening. And you may be sitting next to someone in a pew on Sunday, and they got on a face, they praising the Lord, but then they going home and being abused.
right.
So I think, we just do have to uncover some of these things, and we have to talk about it. You know what I'm saying? So,
I have a question for you. Uh,
mm-hmm.
what do we do if we have a friend that we feel like maybe they're going through this situation? How do you approach them and ask them if they need help or if they, um, because a lot of times we're not qualified to help them really, but do you know any places or type of organizations that a person could go to maybe get help with a situation like that?
Well, I know you can call a domestic abuse hotline.
Hmm.
I do have the number I was going to give out before we close out.
You can give it out
Um,
now and then later, yes.
yeah, it's a domestic abuse hotline.
Hmm.
That number is 1-800 safe. Again, that's 1-800-799 safe, and that's 7233. And so if you suspect the person, is being abused, it might be a good thing for you to call and get some advice. You know what I'm saying? I'm
Right,
not really qualified to tell a person what they should or should not do. Of course, we want to check with our friends or family if we think that they're being abused, and
Exactly.
ask them, is there anything I can do to help? You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Because a lot
Right.
of times,
Right.
like you said, people, they're not going to share that. They're ashamed. You know what I'm saying? You got people who are dealing with domestic violence that are nurses,
Hmm.
doctors, lawyers.
Right. Hmm.
They're not like people, just any old body. You talk about people
Right.
that have degrees, and stuff like that. And that's embarrassing to say that I'm being abused at home. You know what I'm saying? But
Right.
a lot
Right.
of times,
Hmm.
when a woman is being abused, she's not going to tell her family. She's not going to tell her
Right.
brothers or sisters. You know what I'm saying? Because she don't want them to know what's
Right.
happening to her because they're
Hmm.
ashamed. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And they try
Hmm.
to paint that picture that everything is
Right.
okay, but it's not. But see, not only are you being harmed, but your children, if you got children in the household, you're teaching your daughters, what a man should do to you. And then you're teaching your sons what they should do to women. So you
Right.
got to get out of that situation.
Hmm.
So that's the main thing. It's finding the strength to leave that situation. And another thing we don't talk about is dating and domestic violence. I mean, as you know, I've experienced that as a teenager myself. We don't talk about that, but teenagers experience domestic violence.
Right.
And I experienced that as a teenager myself. I had a boyfriend who used to jump on me all the time. If I looked at somebody or I was talking to somebody. But when you're young, when you under 18 and you think
Right.
you're in love, and they tell you they're not gonna do that no more, you don't got sense enough to know that that they can go back to doing the same thing that they've been doing the whole time. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Hmm.
So we just need to try to seek help for people, and we need to educate even our young people about being in a domestically violent
Right.
dating situation, because
Right.
young people do. I used to go to school with black eyes, you know,
Wow.
and stuff like that, so yeah, you know. But I didn't have nobody to talk to. I didn't want to talk to my
Right.
parents. I didn't want to tell my parents about it. I mean, I had friends that knew, but we were all kids. They were my peers. What they gonna tell me? You know what
Right.
I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
So
Hmm.
like I don't know if my teachers was in tuned enough to look at me and say, "Why do you got a black eye?" Like nobody
Right.
never pulled me to the side and talked to me. So I think there's no more education that needs to be done. On domestic violence. Period. Even for teachers to detect that maybe a child is being abused. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I believe a lot of times, just like parents don't know how to deal with it, don't know what to say or to do. Uh, in the church, a lot of times they don't know what to say or do. It's in the school the same way. So some
Hmm.
of the teachers that may have even seen the black eyes and all that, they may have even been afraid to address the situation. Or, a lot of times you find people that say, well, I'm not getting in the middle of that. So
Right.
it's so many things we have to look at, but we're living at a time where we have to get in the middle of that because we got so many people that is dying unnecessarily, that's getting hurt unnecessarily, that's getting raped unnecessarily. There's just so many things that are going on, and as brothers and sisters uh, in Christ, as black people, why we cover up a lot, and I understand some of the reasons why we have done it, but in order to progress and in order to get beyond some of these things, we have to address them. We have to bring some of these things to light. We have to take the mask off and get help. I remember when I went through the phase and I had cancer, and cancer is a serious stressor on you. It can be because it makes you think whether you gonna make it or you not gonna make it. It can cause you to become angry, uh, depressed, uh, suicidal. It's a lot of things that can cause this. Um,
Right.
and when you don't know how or what to go through, what process to go through to get help, uh, you feel like you're out there on alone, all alone, and you don't know what to do.
Mhm.
Uh, then later on, had to have a knee replacement, and it got to the point where I couldn't even hardly walk, walking with a cane with two braces on one leg, and it's like, man, it's got to be something better than this. And you get angry, you get frustrated, you get depressed, and that is a ticking time bomb. And so it's important to get help. Seek help out. You don't have to tell everybody you're getting help. Get some help. I
Yes.
ended up going to a psychologist. Psychologist helped me in ways I never imagined. It even she showed me how to even talk myself down when stress hit me. When I'm ready to just explode, she taught me how to come to bring myself down. Uh,
Right.
she gave me even some apps that will help calm you down. And it's so many things that are out there for us. We just got to decide that we're willing to get help.
Right.
Because to hurt somebody, to beat somebody, to kill somebody, it doesn't. That's nonsense.
Right.
We don't need to go that far. We need to find out and do what we need to do to get the help we need because the life we've saved may be our own. So
Mhm.
we're living in an age now to where a lot of people got guns on them, and it ain't like it used to be. So you might go to somebody to do what you think you're gonna do, and before you know it, you down there on the ground. So it just this is a new world, new adventure, and we need to look at things in a totally different light. Uh,
Right.
get help.
Right.
Don't be
Right.
afraid to get help. Uh, and you may not your pastor might not be the answer because like you was saying earlier, they're not trained. A lot of them not trained for that. They're not equipped for that. So sometimes we need to go to somebody that has had the training that can really give us the help that we need to get beyond
Right.
this before it end up taking us out. Because a lot of people, when they get to a point, they'll either hurt you or they'll hurt themselves. And you don't want either one to happen. So it's so important for us to
Right.
try to seek somebody out, or call a hotline or something
Mm.
to get the help assistance that you need in a time like
Right.
this.
Right.
Yeah.
Just like I was saying earlier, oftentimes a person who, is an abuser, they saw
Hmm.
domestic violence in their home. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? They watched their dad beat their mom. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Kids get spanked. We used to get spanked when we were kids, but it wasn't abuse. You know what I'm saying? Um, at least not in my home, it wasn't. but but we got a spanking though. but of course, some kids did deal with where it crossed the line from being
Right.
getting a spanking to being abused. So a
Right.
lot of times when young people, when they get older, if they see their parents, you know what I'm saying, whether it's their mom or their dad being abusive, we a lot of times we learn by what we see. You know what I'm saying? We learn by what we see more than we learn by what our parents say. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? We kind of do what we see. If they don't deal with confrontation the right way, then we usually gonna deal with confrontation the way we saw confrontation be dealt with. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
I think that's one of the main reasons why you have a lot of young men. They don't know how to deal. You know what I'm saying? Deal with women because they have seen so much abuse in their own home, and that's the
Right.
only way they know how. If they saw their daddy, going to pull the spark plugs on their mama's car and taking my mama's keys. When they become men and they get a wife, a lot of times They feel like to control her from going nowhere, they're gonna pull the spark plugs and take her keys, not let her have to check no money. You know what I'm saying? Give me the receipts, where
Right.
you going? All that stuff is abuse.
Right.
That's emotional
Right.
abuse. You know what I'm saying? Because
Hmm.
there's other types of abuse. You got physical abuse, you got emotional abuse, and you got verbal abuse. Some people
Right.
abuse you verbally, telling you how stupid you is and dumb, like you ain't never gonna be nothing. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
there are different types of abuse that we deal with. You know what I'm saying? Um, and domestically. But the worst one is physical abuse, when a person get to the point where they start throwing shoes and breaking stuff and throwing you into walls, and you know what I'm saying, and hitting and slapping you. You know what I'm saying? Then that's going too far.
Right.
But it's not just physical abuse. Some people are verbally abusive.
Hmm.
They don't got
And that's
nothing
just
good
as
to say.
bad.
It's just as bad, because
Yeah.
they tear a person's confidence down. They tear them down. And
Right.
some women don't even realize that they're being abused, when a
Right.
person, you know, what I'm saying, abusing them
Exactly.
verbally. And then
Hmm.
they're abusing them emotionally. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Hmm.
how some men, you say you're gonna leave them, and then they start crying, and then acting like, you know what I'm saying? They
Right.
playing on your emotions. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? They manipulating you, and trying to
They don't do that,
control
do
you.
they?
Now, some men do. Some men do
Wow.
that. Women do
Mhm.
it too, but I'm saying it's, that's a form
Do
of
they?
abuse too.
Woo.
So, but I'm gonna share a few more of signs of a abuser.
Okay.
Number 13 is he's easily jealous. When they're feeling weary of a relationship you have with other men can be normal, but being suspicious of any contact you have with any other man and accusing you incorrectly of flirting crosses a line of overjealous. Sometimes
Right.
a man or a woman could be so jealous, like you can't even say hi. That's what I'm saying. I was telling you, when I
Hmm.
was a teenager, my boyfriend, I couldn't even tell nobody what time it was without him getting mad. What you doing talking to him? Da 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 da. You understand what I'm saying? That
Right.
crosses the line of being over jealous. You know what I'm saying? When you got a person that you can't even say hello to, and they think that you're flirting with someone because you just speaking to someone, that's crossing the line. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? Usually you dealing with somebody who has some abusive traits when they're
Right.
just overly jealous like that. And another one, number 14, is his feelings get hurt easily and frequently. You shouldn't
What?
have to talk or walk on eggshells around your man. He is easily insulted and rants and raves about things that is just normal life. Some people, they just rant and rave about stuff. Like, why you feeling so hurt about nothing? You getting all in your feelings. And so you just got some people that just rant and rave, get
Right.
angry with you about stuff that's just normal everyday life situations, you know.
Hmm.
So let's see, number 15 is he previously hurt a partner. If you got in a relationship with someone and you know that they have jumped on their previous girlfriend or wife, or
Hmm.
even these days, boyfriend on boyfriend, girlfriend on girlfriend. I mean, truth be told, you know, if you in a relationship with somebody that you
Right.
know that has been previously, abusive to their partner, what make you
Right.
think that they're not going to be abusive to you?
Right.
So a lot of times we ignore some of those signs, that we're dealing with an abuser.
Right.
If they was jumping on their other girlfriend or their wives,
Hmm.
you're not exempt. You're not exempt, because if you make him mad and you don't do what he tell you to do or he wants you to do,
What? Hmm.
9 times out of 10, that abuser will hurt you too.
Right.
He will hurt you
Well,
too.
we gonna go a few more minutes and then we're gonna wind it up. I can see this is gonna be something that we're gonna have to do a part two on, and same time, same channel. But we're gonna let you get to a point where we can stop it and we can get ready to come back on next week. And this has been very good information, and we hope that people will listen to it and to have a comment about it. Hit you up, hit me up, and maybe sometime we might even be able to bring somebody else on the air with us. So,
Right.
but I'll let you go ahead and
Well, I'm just gonna share
wind
just
this up.
this last one, and I'm gonna give that
Yeah,
hotline number
go ahead
back
and do that.
out.
Yes, yes,
Um,
definitely.
um, the last one going out on, and like I said, we can pick up,
Hmm.
from here on next time. But he threatens you to control you. An
Right,
abuser will threaten you when you won't do what he wants you to do, or what he doesn't like. So if you're with someone who's threatening you because he's trying
right.
to control you, because you won't do what he want or do what he like or do what he
Hmm.
say, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes
Exactly.
an
Hmm.
abuser, they may want you to do things sexually that you're uncomfortable with. You
Right,
know what I'm saying? You don't need to be with somebody who's threatening you.
right,
So if you feel threatened, if you feel like you're in danger, you know what I'm saying? Or somebody telling you that they're gonna kill you, or no,
right.
I can't. If I can't have you, nobody else can have you.
Wow.
You need to
Yeah.
get out of that relationship. You need to
Quick in a
run
hurry.
from that. Yes.
Right.
So
Hmm.
if you're in danger, or you know someone who's being in a abusive relationship, who is in an abusive relationship, you know,
Hmm.
call the domestic abuse hotline, because violence is never okay. That number is 800-799-SAFE. Again, that's 800-799-7233. That's the domestic abuse hotline.
We want to thank you for being part of our show today. Thank you for uh, all this wonderful information that we hope that'll help somebody. You take care. God bless you, and have a wonderful evening. Goodbye.
All right, good night.